No, this outfit is not particularly thematic to the subject today, but I was at the Renaissance Fair earlier and I think I look good and I'm just going to wear it for this. So, AI continues to be shoved into everything they can think to cram it into, despite an ever increasing distaste for the stuff among the general public. Artists and writers and other creators hate it and have from the beginning for it being trained on their work without permission or compensation. Anyone who has a data center built near them hates the noise, the environmental impact, and the spike in electricity bills. Anyone who has a data center being planned near them hates how they nearly always completely bypass the normal processes and remove the possibility of local residents' voices slowing things down. Gamers hate it for hoovering up all the chips and driving up the cost of years-old video game consoles, turning their hobby into a luxury. Folks on basically any form of social media hate it for the slop that it creates that fills their feeds. The list goes on, but here's a little bit of hard data for you. In a study released on June 17th of this year, the Pew Research Center said that only 23% of people surveyed believed AI would have a positive impact on them personally. And that number drops down to 16% when those same people were asked if it would have a positive impact on society at large. And this is despite the exact same study showing that more people are using AI on a regular basis, even a daily basis, than ever before. That isn't really by choice, though, is it? Because AI is added to more things and non-AI based options are rapidly taken away. More people are using it because they are forced to. But regardless, its use is still on the rise. So this distaste for it does not come from ignorance of the tech. The more people interact with it, the less they like it. Why do you think graduating high school and college classes are booing commencement speakers who try to speak well of the damn thing?
The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
We are talking about the most tech-literate generation being made to learn how these tools work, and the data shows that they use it and they hate it. The tech still continues to be pushed because they make those who already have way too much money wealthier. I have talked before about how AI tech is literally self-defeating. In this video, where I point out that AI summaries at the top of search results on a site like Google mean that fewer people are going to click on the sites that AI is scraping that data from because they already have the answer from the summary. That means less traffic for those sites, which means less revenue, which means they are more likely to go out of business. And if they do, where the hell is the AI summary going to get the data it's summarizing in the first place? Now, these days, most of the AI headlines have to do with whether or not it's impacting the job market, how much it's impacting the job market, and what specific jobs are at risk, etc., etc. It's an active debate because for as long as the debate is unsettled, then almost nobody is doing anything about it because there hasn't been agreement on what the problem is, or if there even is one. But for the purposes of today's video, we're going to be setting aside a lot of things, none of which should actually be put to the side. But I want to drill down on the thing that's been true from the beginning and will remain true no matter what specifics are currently in flux or being debated. To be clear, though, the environmental damage alone should be enough reason to put a stop to all of this. And that's before we get into the impact of cost of living, the decline of cognitive skills that we keep offloading to large language models, or the fact that it's allowed for the possibly greatest consolidation of wealth in human history. Now, any one of those should be enough reason to kill this tech dead right now. But none of that is what I'm going to be arguing today. Because the way the debate continues endlessly is through the diminishing of these impacts, attempts to reframe them as positive, or the eternal cry of, well, the tech will get better, because I could point out that no AI model is flawless, and when it messes up, it has the potential to be catastrophic in its impact, depending on what data sets it's working with and what permissions it has. And when that does happen, it's incredibly difficult to hold anyone, person or corporation, to account for it. But the counter is always, oh, but it'll get better. That's an obfuscation at best and an outright lie at worst. But today, we're going to engage in a little steel manning. You're probably familiar with straw manning, taking the weakest possible version of an argument and tearing it apart. It's an easy tactic when you're opting for mockery or believe your target is beneath serious consideration. And while it's true, I do believe AI is beneath serious consideration, it is being taken seriously, so I'm going to treat it seriously. Now, steel manning is the opposite of straw manning, where you present the strongest possible version of the argument and show how even that pie-in-the-sky version still can't hold up to scrutiny. So let's steel this AI man. Let's say the environmental impact is exaggerated and reversible. Let's say the impact on people's cognitive abilities is negligible. Let's say the impact on electric bills and electronic goods levels out. Let's say it improves to the point that it basically never hallucinates and never says anything wildly wrong. None of this is the case, but for the sake of argument, let's say that it is. So what happens now? What happens when AI is so good that humans aren't needed to check its work anymore? When it can be put into robots and start to take over physical labor? When there's no more need for office drones, interns, freelancers, or indeed, let's say, 50 to 60% of the job market? What happens then? Because while these companies dispute how much of the market is affected, everything they pitch AI for would make human input less necessary. Whether that means fully replacing a job or allowing one person to do the workload previously done by 8 people, it's still fewer people you need in the workforce. So what are those people meant to do? Not everyone can become an AI programmer, and since you have things like Claude pitched as helping programmers out, there'll be less need for as many of them too in this idealized version of the tech future. Now, it's possible you might find your mind drifting to some idealized utopic vision where people are free to do what they like because tech does so much for them. After all, isn't that basically the Federation in Star Trek? Or Ian M. Banks's The Culture series? Even a parody version like The Jetsons still seems like a pretty nice place, doesn't it? Yeah, funny thing though, both Star Trek and The Culture are post-capitalist societies. They don't really have money. People don't have to work in order to have the things they need to survive and indeed thrive. That's all just provided to them. Even the world of the Jetsons, which is clearly still capitalistic.
He looks up to you, George.
Yeah, sure. He looks up to me once a week to ask for his allowance.
Has George working all of 2 days a week.
Bad day at the office.
Yeah, those 3-hour work days are killing me.
And on that pay, he is able to support a family of 4 plus a dog. Yet, our costs of living keep rising, and the social safety net keeps shrinking when it's not being deliberately destroyed. We don't live in a post-capitalist society. We live in one in which we need money in order to attain even the most basic necessities, and we're meant to get a job in order to earn that money. If an ever-increasing percentage of those jobs can now be done by AI, how is it exactly that we are meant to earn a living? You know, that's a little bit of a strange turn of phrase when you think about it. Earn a living. It implies that a living, having the means to survive in this society, is something that has to be earned. We don't just deserve to live by default. We have to earn that. And my appreciation to Lila Sky on TikTok for noting this implication in a comment on one of my videos there. We live in a world that demands we prove our worth in order to be granted the means to live. But the jobs through which we're meant to prove that worth would become fewer and fewer in a world where AI was flawless and saw the mass adoption that is currently being pushed. You don't have a job? Sorry, you don't get to eat. Oh, you want a job so you can't eat? Sorry, we don't have any jobs for you. Capitalism has always been based on a combination of exploitation and the threat of starvation. That's not a mischaracterization, that's just how it works. Capitalism is exploitative by its nature. It literally has to be. The only way a company can make a profit is by selling the fruits of the workers' labor for more than they were paid for it. The end product, whatever it is, has to be sold for more than the employees get paid. Otherwise, the whole thing goes out of business. There are only two ways to accomplish that. Either you sell the end product of their labor for more than it's reasonably worth, aka fleece the customer, or you sell the product at a fair and reasonable price and then underpay your workers, aka crunch the employees. No prizes for realizing that pretty much every modern corporation does both. Without exploitation of someone, there is no profit. There literally can't be. If the product was sold at fair price and the employees, aka you, were paid the true value of their labor, then at best, a corporation could break even and nothing more. And currently, corporate profits are soaring to all-time highs, which means those of us being fleeced are getting even more screwed than ever. And the threat of starvation keeps us in the system. The only way mass adoption of this hypothetical flawless AI wouldn't ruin the lives of the majority of the population would be if those people were no longer required to hold down jobs in order to be able to afford such luxuries as food, shelter, and clean water. But of course, nobody pushing the tech is pushing for any of the massive societal change that would be required for that to happen. They want to give the work to AI and leave all of us to rot. That's the idealized version of this tech. In a world in which a significant portion of the planet, if not a majority of it, can't get work because AI does it, and therefore can't live off anything but whatever new exploitative use our billionaire overlords can think of, if they can be bothered to think of anything. Those building and implementing this tech are always so fast to point out AI is being used to do menial work, repetitive work nobody really wants to do, except whether people want to do that work or not. We still live in a society that demands we work. They paint it as freeing people from the most mind-numbing of jobs, but freeing them to do what exactly? Since tech bros and their disciples are often mixed up in crypto and now the so-called prediction markets, some of them would actually tell you, well, now you can just stay home and play the stock market or trade crypto or gamble. Trade futures in the prediction market. With what? If you lose your week's paycheck to a bad crypto trade, that really sucks, but you'll get a new paycheck next week. If you don't have a job and you blow what little you have on Polymarket or Kalshi, you're just supposed to... what? Die and decrease the surplus population? I'd say that's the goal, except these same criminal tech billionaires are the ones screaming about a birth rate crisis. So none of this has been thought out. They'll claim that they're thinking long-term, but long-term, this tech is a protracted societal suicide. And that's if they succeed, and all of this embeds itself so deeply that it can't be fully removed. But even if they don't, we're still dealing with the impact on people's lives and their ability to be secure in them right now. These tech bros want you to think of Star Trek and that bright future, but never, ever think about how nobody needs to hold down a job in that universe, because you still do need to hold down a job. They want you to think that somehow if we build the tech that's like Star Trek, that will magically move society in that same direction, but it won't. You have to build that, and nobody is. Definitely not the people inflating the AI tech bubble. They're prepared to burn the present for a nebulous future that can't be what they claim, even if their tech actually became everything they say it will be. If you want a deeper dive into the way tech bros twist sci-fi utopia fiction for their own ends, I'm going to recommend this video by my good close personal friend Jesse. AI doesn't exist to make your life better. It never has. Even its most idealized and perfect version can only make the world harder to live in for you and the people you care about. And of course, we don't even have that idealized version. We have the version that's hoarding clean water, driving up prices of everything, wrecking communities, resisting any potential regulation, stealing every bit of data it can get, and after all that, still fucking up at a frankly inexcusable rate. OpenAI itself claimed last year that ChatGPT was prompted 2.5 billion times a day. Now, the rate at which LLMs hallucinate, aka make stuff up and say with the same confidence as true facts, is heavily disputed for obvious reasons. It also varies pretty wildly depending on what the topic is, but let's steelman it again. The best results that these things give are on standardized tests where it can score as high as 94%. Let's be unrealistically generous and say that it is a 94% rate of success across the board. At 2.5 billion prompts a day with a 6% failure rate, that would mean the absolute best case scenario is that ChatGPT alone is generating 150 million wrong answers every day. 150 million answers that are wrong, misleading, made up, libelous, and potentially dangerous every single day. Best case scenario. We can and should push back on every claim and every harm that this stuff causes, but always remember and be very quick to point out that even if every problem with this tech was fixed, this would still be destructive to the society we are currently stuck in. Just straight logistics. If you think half the planet doesn't deserve to starve because they can't get work, then either AI goes or capitalism goes. Of course, I say both should go, but if you're not ready for that, just realize how incompatible these two are for anyone who isn't at the top. This isn't exactly a new conclusion I'm reaching. Longtime viewers saw me go off on this exact point when I did a rewatch review of the Doctor Who episode Kerblam. But I thought it was time to get at the heart of this and tackle it head on. I know, we're all waiting for the bubble to burst. But we really should be pushing to actively dismantle this entire apparatus, not just wait for it to collapse in on itself. Because it's philosophically incompatible with anything that isn't post-capitalist, post-scarcity. And since we're not doing those things and not even really trying, all of this AI nonsense needs to die. I want it gone, and I want it gone by Monday. I think my demands are reasonable. You can tell that this topic gets me a little bit heated. It's hard for me to not get a little bit heated because this is stuff that is unpopular. The flaws in it are obvious. Anyone who is paying attention can tell you a myriad of problems beyond this core one that I just explained, how even if the tech was perfect, it still doesn't work if we are still in a society that demands we have jobs. And to be clear, they know that. Microsoft's CEO has gotten upset with the fact that other CEOs in AI-related businesses are being too open and honest about the problems with the tech, including the threat to jobs. He wants them to stop talking about it. Of course, they don't have to. The fact that they have been talking about it openly and even casually saying things like, yeah, maybe it'll destroy society, but hey, maybe not. Ain't capitalism grand? And look, this isn't even necessarily an anti-capitalist thing. I am anti-capitalist, to be clear, but I'm pointing out to you that if you're going to keep a capitalist society, then this tech will destroy that society if it actually does what they say it will. So even if you're pro-capitalist, you really need to wake up on this because fundamentally, you're going to be screwed either way. A little bit of a shorter one today, a little bit of a frustrated one today. I don't mean to be talking about AI more often, but when something worms its way into my head, I do need to talk about it just to get it out. And here we are. Whatever your thoughts are on any of this, go ahead and drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. Patreon pays my bills and is how I am able to earn my living in this capitalist hellscape. Any amount you're able to support me there is immensely appreciated. I am beginning to experiment more with Patreon exclusive work, although I also have that available here for YouTube members. So if that is more convenient for you, that's also an option. But if you're not up for doing that, like, share, subscribe, those also help. But what I really want you to remember is as we do our best to navigate this nightmare, you are beautiful. You are valid. You are loved. You are the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. Now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Jared Boyce, Ruben Lupula, Daphne Matthews, Kay Johnston, Auntie Kate 808, Mira G, Angry Casper, Dave Hall, Snark Shark, Oliver B, Mystic Shadow, Stephen Miller, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Magdalena, Melissa Pedersen, Becky Sparks, Twilord, Tracy Scrabbit, Claire Wright, Pal Barabajoggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. Additionally, I'd like to thank from the lower tiers of support, John Dent, Erez87, and Quark 12,000. Well, you guys might like to see Archie this month. Everybody loves you. How could you not?